South Central. But let's now put the spotlight on our top story. What is that? Well, that's related to India's deep tech ecosystem. And a report by redseer claims that the ecosystem, India's deep tech ecosystem, is entering a breakout phase with its market opportunity projected to touch $30 billion by 2030. And this surge is fueled by a boost in defense innovation and robotics manufacturing. That's essentially what the report states. And of course, we have some of the snippets of the report playing right on your television screens. In fact, the report also claims that this sector, once considered a niche sector, deep tech, which includes advanced fields like AI, robotics, autonomous systems and energy propulsion, is now emerging as India's next big economic engine that's bridging national security goals with global industrial demand, the consulting firm mentions in the report. Let's now decode this report a bit more with our guest who's joining us now, Vikrant Shome. He's an engagement manager at redseer Strategy Consultants. Thank you very much, Vikrant, for taking the time out and speaking to us here on ET Now. You've spoken very positively as far as India's deep tech ecosystem is concerned, and we've seen the ecosystem come up. We've seen several startups in the ecosystem also come up. There's VC interest in the ecosystem as well. But what are the key factors that are driving this $30 billion valuation estimate for India's deep tech sector by 2030?
Sure. Firstly, thank you so much for having me over here. Very quickly, I'll just cover the key drivers, right? It's a convergence of, demand, manufacturing capability increasing in India, and also geopolitical shifts. Starting with demand, I see that in India, defense deep tech, specifically driven by the controlled and stable requirement from the defense side of the economy, being constantly being there as a bedrock of stability, that gives us especially a guaranteed anchor market. On top of that, you're looking at cost optimization and manufacturing capabilities building in India, which kind of improves the advantage we have over other economies. And finally, geopolitical shift, the China plus one strategy, where markets are looking at India as a trusted partner in developing deep automation in their supply chain mechanisms. I think that's, in general, all the three together are key drivers for the deep tech ecosystem in India.
Right. Very interestingly, you also mentioned the geopolitical shifts and, of course, how brands are embracing the China plus one strategy. Vikrant will come and discuss that a bit more, given the fact that this year it's geopolitical shifts that have impacted most of the business activity. But in terms of sheer contribution of this particular sector in India's GDP, what is your estimate in terms of where it stands as of now, and to what extent can it grow? What's the potential that you see, for instance, in 5 years from now?
Yeah, I think the market today is pegged at $9 to $12 billion, right? So that's where at 2025, India deep tech as an ecosystem stands. And predominantly two sectors which are driving this market size are, defense deep tech and humanoid, specifically in the robotics segment. This, I think, is going to grow significantly, right? It's going to grow more than 3 times in the next 5 years. And it's going to be largely driven by the defense spends, because that's a stable requirement for indigenous requirements. And of course, exports will also keep rising. On top of that, I think humanoids and robotics is going to be the next growth frontier.
Right, humanoid and robotics. Well, we're seeing some activity happen in the deep tech space as far as robotics and humanoids are concerned. And in fact, this activity has largely been concentrated in China and, of course, the United States. Now, speaking about China, we did see a couple of months back at the SU summit how China is really utilizing the deep tech ecosystem, the deep tech space, to sort of automate a lot of work that's happening in the country. So when we talk about geopolitical shifts, let me also ask you, Vikrant, given the fact that you're stating that a lot of companies are looking at India as a trusted geography, but in terms of the US-China trade war, there has been a shift as far as that is concerned. There has been some sort of an understanding that's been arrived at between both the countries. Is that going to have an impact on how brands view India?
Yeah, I think, US-China trade war is definitely something which drives away anywhere in across the global diaspora. If you see that there is any kind of a war or anti-friendly norms which are creeping up, right, that kind of leads to lack of trust and lack of ease of convenience of kind of working together, which creeps into different markets. So essentially, the private sector or the corporates would be looking for a more convenient and viable partnership network, and definitely that extends beyond China. So you would see that overall. Within China, you would see factory automations are, kind of accelerating, right? And this as a trend is something which all the other geographies are also wanting to capture. It's just a matter of time when the global other markets, right, matured markets like US would shift beyond China and look to grow not only their internal capabilities, but also partnerships across, geographies like India.
Right, Vikrant, Vikrant,
yeah.
Angle. Vikrant, I'll have to interject you here because when you talk about the US-China angle and how, a lot of companies are looking at India with that sense of trust, which is indeed great for the country. But at, the recently had meeting between Chinese President Xi Jinping and US President Donald Trump, we did see ahead of that very crucial meeting wherein an understanding was arrived at between both the countries, US President Donald Trump called the ties between the two as the G2, and which is what geopolitical experts are also looking at in terms of the kind of an impact that it's going to have on India. So again, my question to you, according to what I asked you earlier, if there is an understanding which has been arrived at between China and the United States, what kind of an impact is it going to have on India, given the fact that technologically both of those countries are miles ahead of us?
No, I think a fair point, but what we are actually seeing is a partial thaw, right? You're seeing that countries are talking again, but the core tech rivalry still remains, right? You're seeing US keeps the chips control. China would be doubling more around the automation bit, right? And India quietly probably would want to fill the gap which remains in between, right? So I see that while there would be shift towards friendly atmosphere, however, there is a gap which can be filled by India in this global ecosystem.
Right. In fact, let me also ask you, Vikrant, when we talk about the subsectors, AI, robotics, quantum computing, semiconductors, and defense tech, which of these segments are you, as a consultant, a consultancy, are you really bullish on in terms of how much are all of these sectors expected to contribute most to the growth that's going to come in from the deep tech ecosystem?
I think within deep tech, there are, as I mentioned, largely two sectors, right? We are looking at defense deep tech spends, and we are also looking at robotics automation. So within defense deep tech, we see the immediate requirements, right? We are looking at unmanned drones, advanced sensors, battlefield energy systems, which are constantly going to grow in requirement. And these are going to be immediately procured at scale, which is more coming from the sense of urgency and requirement for the for the country's defense ecosystem. Now, having said that, there is further room to explore within exports. I think last year, India's defense exports grew to about $2.7 billion, which shows that India is increasingly building export capabilities. And this will further extend into the robotics segment as well when we go deeper into the corporate supply chains. So to answer in short, it's essentially...
Right, Vikrant, let me also ask you about...
Yeah.
Okay, let me also ask you about India's, focus on deep tech. Are we a little late to the party? Because if you see all of these ecosystems, semiconductors, for instance, and it's been often said that we are 10 years late, at least, this should have started long way back. Similarly, about AI, in fact, India has decided to sort of work on its AI model long after China announced its own. And of course, we've seen several of these companies come up in the United States. So is India late to the deep tech party?
No, not quite, right? Because when you're looking at deep tech as a segment, it goes beyond probably mainstream AI implementation. I mean, AI for sure is going to be a horizontal layer which cuts across all the segments of deep tech. However, it's not really a mainstream core component of deep tech market as we see it. Semiconductors, yes, for sure. I mean, it remains a strategic bet for India also to build with longer term horizon of commercial viability. It's essential for sovereignty, right? But I mean, it's still going to be contributing a smaller chunk of the deep tech growth when it comes from an India perspective. The larger markets still remain as, we are looking at it from a defense spends as well as from a robotics automation standpoint.
Right. So, Vikrant, since you also mentioned about domestic growth versus exports, how big is this exports opportunity, and which are the markets to which India can cater to, given the fact that, technology in the United States, especially as far as deep tech is concerned, it is pretty advanced. Similarly is the case with China. So how big is that exports opportunity for India in the space of deep tech?
Yeah, I think the export opportunity actually cuts across all markets, right? And a large part of it, of course, will also hinge immediately. It would hinge towards the growing economies, and later also we see that in developed economies like the US and Europe, we would be definitely looking to export our tech capabilities. When it comes to what kind of uh, opportunity we are looking at, I think the opportunity is significant, provided India is able to kind of solve for the core, cost arbitrage and manufacturing capabilities. India, we were just looking at some data and trying to figure out what's the BOM cost typically going to look like for a standard deep tech innovation. We see that in India, due to provided economies of scale kind of creep in India, the costs can be as low as 1/3 of what it looks like in US, right? So manufacturing is definitely going to be cheaper when it comes to having setups in India. Of course, the technology bit can be done in partnership, but manufacturing as a capability of deep tech is something we see which is core to drive India's revenue numbers.
Absolutely, and manufacturing is core, and of course we've seen different PLI schemes come up in the past few years to support different ecosystems, whether it's related to semiconductors or mobile phones manufacturing or even white goods. But Vikrant, how effective are the current government frameworks and and schemes in supporting a dual use, that is civil and defense technologies?
Yeah, I think it's a big challenge for local component ecosystems at the moment, right? I mean, the missing piece for hardware intensive deep tech has largely been the fund, which is essentially patient capital, as we call it, right? And that is something which we are seeing increasingly being solved by the government coming up with schemes, both for traditional as well as the new age companies. IDEX, for example, right, outside of the PLI and Semicon India kind of schemes, IDEX we see is giving increasing opportunity to defense startups, early stage, organizations with access to capital, better access to customers. And I think, the key bottlenecks are the localized manufacturing, faster certifications. These are things which I think will increasingly be solved for in the next 5 years, and therefore will automatically lead to the unlocking of more value in this segment.
All right, Vikrant, well, on that note, thank you very much for joining us and taking the time out and speaking to us about India's deep tech ecosystem. And of course, there are government schemes that are currently in place, but what more can be done, and how resilient is this growth going to be, given the fact that we've seen, geopolitical shifts change defense spending? Well, that will be an interesting phenomena to watch out for. But for the moment, thank you very much for taking the time out.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for us to take a look at all that's happening in South India. What else is happening? Well, Zoho's CEO Sridhar Vembu has reignited the debate around digital sovereignty and the need for localized digital solutions. Post the success of Aratai, which is the homegrown Desi rival to WhatsApp, Sridhar Vembu has emphasized how vulnerable India's dependence on US technologies and systems is. In fact, in a post on X, Sridhar Vembu has posted that there is an urgent need for developing a 10-year national mission on tech resilience. The Zoho founder also has made these claims in response to a post by Harsh Goenka, the industrialist, who also echoed the same viewpoint that in a situation of the United States blocking access to its software, India will need to have localized solutions and software ready, not only to act as a substitute, but also to counter the dependence like China does. Harsh Goenka's original post asked Indians to imagine a scenario, like I said, where platforms like Google, Instagram, X, Facebook, and ChatGPT were cut off. Frightening, no? Just think about the consequences seriously and what the plan B for us could be. That's essentially what he wrote. And of course, that's been supported by Zoho's Sridhar Vembu. He's once again reignited the debate around digital sovereignty and the need for localized digital solutions. In fact, remember, ladies and gentlemen, the app and its platforms have also been supported by union ministers as well, and not just this platform, but of course a whole host of other startups. For instance, Map My India has also been supported by India's IT minister, amongst others. Meanwhile, there's news coming in from Chennai, wherein the TFPC on Sunday resolved that big budget films will henceforth be produced on a revenue sharing model with actors and leading technicians that are required to share both profits and losses with producers. And this decision was taken during the association's general body meeting held in Chennai. Now, according to a press release that's been issued by the Tamil Film Producers Council after the meeting, the move aims to address severe financial pressures arising from declining revenues from theatrical releases, as well as over-the-top and satellite businesses. Now, as part of a broader restructuring effort to safeguard theatrical revenue, the association has also mandated staggered OTT release windows. Films that are featuring leading actors can only be released on OTT platforms after 8 weeks, those featuring mid-tier actors after 6 weeks, and small-budget films after 4 weeks. That's essentially what the release stated. In fact, to ensure better access for small projects, the TFPC has decided to form a film release regulation committee that comprises of representatives from the Theatre Owners Association and Distributors Association. And there's more news that's coming in from Tamil Nadu. What exactly is it? Well, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has said that the Special Intensive Revision, or SIR, of electoral rolls is being used as a political weapon against the Dravid Munitra Kazhagam, or DMK, but it will never work in Tamil Nadu, where the party is in power. He said, and I quote, "Our enemies use the income tax and CBI to threaten us. Now they have taken up the SIR as a weapon to destroy the DMK. It may work in other states, but as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, with the DMK here, it will never work." Remember, the SIR controversy has not just reignited in South India, but all across the country. In fact, we have seen presentations which have been given by Rahul Gandhi related to these SIR rolls or electoral rolls, and in fact that's been then countered by the BJP, and then of course the Congress party and its supporters have come in with their own set of explanations as well. But news now coming in from Karnataka, where the Karnataka government has dismissed senior prison officials after back-to-back videos exposing illegal activities in VIP treatment inside Bengaluru's Parpanna Agrahara Central Prison. In fact, Jail Superintendent Mageri and Jail ASP Ashok Bajantri have been dismissed, while Chief Jail Superintendent Suresh has been transferred, and that's essentially what officials have confirmed. Remember, this is coming in after a video allegedly from a week ago went viral. It shows inmates singing, dancing and shouting "Party all night" while using plates and mugs as instruments. And this comes a day after visuals surfaced of high-risk inmates, including an ISIS recruiter, serial rapist Umesh Reddy, and actor Tarun using mobile phones, watching a smart TV, and enjoying special treatment. Meanwhile, the BJP has launched an attack against the Siddaramaiah government after these few purported videos surfaced on social media. And of course, these, like I said, they showed inmates of Bengaluru's Agrahara jail receiving VVIP treatment. And of course, as we can also see on our television screens, protests have broken out. And of course, the opposition leader R. Ashoka has alleged that the state government has no control over law and order. My colleague Imran is here with more details. Imran, what exactly has the opposition stated in this matter? Because, this VVIP treatment that's being given to jail inmates, it is a matter of concern. And also, this is not the first time that such videos have come out.
Well, yes, but action has been initiated by the Home Minister. In fact, he held a press conference right behind where we were there after a meeting with all the senior officials of the prisons. He has said that Chief Superintendent of Prison K. Suresh will be transferred immediately, and apart from that, Superintendent Maigeri, who has been suspended, and Assistant Superintendent Ashok Bajantri has been also suspended by the action taken by the officials. Now, the Home Minister said that now they brought a lot of changes into the system. One is that one prison official cannot stay in same prison for more than 5 years, and apart from that, there will be centralized monitoring of the CCTV footages will be done under the ADGP prisons. And apart from that, they also set up a committee to submit a report over this leak of these videos. IPS officer Hitendra will be heading this report, and within 1 month, he will submit a report. Apart from that, he has a string of measures. The Home Minister said we have brought in to ensure that no such videos are further, taken, and no such violation of the prison norms happen. He also said that any official found that videos coming out, the action will be taken can initiate immediately against him. If the videos belongs to earlier time when the prison official wasn't there in the spot, actions will still be initiated against him, is what the Home Minister stated. Immediately he said that 3 people have been action taken against. Chief Superintendent of Prison K. Suresh has been transferred. Superintendent Maigiri, Assistant Superintendent Ashok has been suspended by the Home Minister.
All right, so the Karnataka government has taken a slew of measures, including dismissing senior prison officials after these back-to-back videos exposed illegal activities and, of course, VIP treatment inside a Bengaluru jail. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time's up from us here on South Central. Hope you liked watching the show, and in fact, you can share your thoughts and your feedback with us as well. You can write to us on our social media handles, and do let us know what is it that you'd like to watch on the show and the kind of discussions that you want us to have right here on South Central. From me and the entire team, goodbye and thank you very much for watching.
Got questions about insurance?